Hello and welcome to this edition of the Coaches Corner. Today, our focus is on Syracuse University, and Syracuse is located in Syracuse, New York, in what is known as the Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is known for its vibrant campus and very strong academic reputation. Syracuse has about 23,000 students in its undergraduate and graduate programs and offers a wide range of academic programs, including highly regarded communications, business, and engineering degrees. The university has a long-standing rugby tradition with a history dating back over 50 years. The Syracuse University men's rugby team competes in the NCR D1, and it is led by Program Director Colin O'Hare through a partnership with Leinster Rugby. Welcome, Coach O'Hare.
Thanks, Melanie.
It's great to have you with us today. Could you tell us first a little bit about you, your background, and how this partnership between Leinster and Syracuse came to be?
Yeah, so you'll know by my accent that I'm Irish, good Irishman. I'm from a town called Dundalk, right at the border in the northeast of Leinster, um, and that's where I was born and bred. So, in terms of what I grew up very much in a multi-sport facet. Our town would be very much soccer based, with GEA. That's our national sport, Gaelic football and hurling. But we have a tradition of rugby actually in our town, the Dock Rugby Club. We've been one of the founding members of Leinster Rugby. So the politics and going back in the 1800s, that there was a lot of obviously Irish towns were garrison towns, for soldiers, and the game sort of come in that way, through the English presence. So it's a very interesting history. It's rugby is very popular in Ireland. It's the fourth choice sport, but has grown significantly since the game had turned professional. So how I got involved, as I said, I played all different sports. I played rugby from the age of 5, dipped in and out of it through how the offerings took place within the club in terms of teams feel it. So the game was amateur back then when I was a kid. So it was very sporadic in terms of offerings. You could be playing under 12s for a few seasons at 9 years of age. Then you might have a game until you were 16, and you'd play maybe 16, 17s, and 18s. And that's the way it was. And you dip in and out of the seasons. The seasons are very obviously the season back home would be from July pre-season to the end of April. So you could cross over and play other sports in between the off seasons, which was great. So in terms then of I played a lot of soccer, and then I returned to play rugby in the local club. And then at that stage, with the game going professional, the IRFU, like all other governing bodies in the world rugby, they didn't really know what way the professional game was going to go. So there was an onus on each body to say, right, well, the game is going professional. What does that look like for you as a country? So obviously we have 4 provinces in Ireland, and the Leinster rugby model, in terms of the rugby model and the development model, and our schools and our clubs, it was very much there in scope, and very much traditionally played in the schools, and obviously in selected clubs. But there wasn't a joint up approach in terms of a long term player development pathway, and a coach pathway, and obviously community outreach. It was very much just you played, you were brought up in it, and it was your heritage, your culture, where you were from, and so on, which is fantastic, because we're very much back home, very much parochial, very much parish based, as we say back home, and we care a lot about where we're from. So rugby fits that bill tremendously. So there's 12 counties in Leinster, and Leinster Rugby, through the IRFU, decided to pilot a program where they would place 12 coaches throughout the province and look to see if they could actually outreach to the community, grow the game through school interactions, and then filter them to the club, where the club could then become stronger in terms of participation, in terms of getting the players in, which is massive. So you're looking to get the players in and then obviously keeping them in and then develop them. So there was sort of three phases that we looked at. So as the pilot progressed, 3, 4, 5 years, all of a sudden there was a influx of connections of clubs having a ground up approach or having teams, being able to field teams from under sixes to 18s in clubland, especially through the mini rugby side, which was massive because there was always no different when I played. There was a disconnect between age groups within your club, and it was the same throughout all the clubs in Leinster. But as time grew on, through community outreach, through player development within the clubs, through coach development within the clubs, and Leinster being that governing body and having that huge support and delivering those programs, the game started to grow. So from that, I was lucky to be involved in it. It was 26 years ago. And then after about 7 or 8 years, I moved to Dublin as a community rugby officer, where we were looking at an area in Dublin which wouldn't have much of a rugby presence to see if we could grow that. Which I spent a year doing that, which was fantastic. A lot of learnings, great people. There was a couple of clubs grew up from it as well. And then I moved into coaching player development within the northeast area. So we have 5 areas within Leinster where we again filter all rugby model. So all the rugby model that we have in Leinster, we filter that through the provinces. Sorry, through the areas in the province. So it's very much a ground up approach. We're very, very much closely linked, very deliberate in how we go about our business. Very supportive of our schools programs. Our coaches in our schools are fantastic. The volunteers, the parents, all things rugby that makes rugby what it is. And that's something that we do very well. I'm not sure if you're aware that our player development model transition from the domestic game to the professional game. 95% of our players that play with our senior side are all homegrown. So it's a homegrown talent approach. So you can imagine the Boston Celtics, for example, just outreaching a geographic area of whatever, small area, and that the deliverable is that you can only have 95% of the basketball players in that area are from Boston, and you bring in maybe a Larry Bird from the outside just to support that homegrown talent. So that's our model, and we're very proud of it. It works for us, but we're very aware that it's not just one person. We need everybody, and it's taken years to refine. So it's a great model. It's a tough model. It's a very robust. It works for us, and then through our camps back home, through our coaching clinics, through our community outreach program, that strengthens us. That's our strong pillars that make it a success. Obviously, through our volunteers as well in our schools and coaches, as I've mentioned. So, how do we get the partnership with Syracuse? So, as like anything else, the world's become a small place, and people socialize, people meet each other. You don't know who you're going to meet next, where they're from. All sports are crossing over now. There seems to be a very transatlantic presence with American football and in Ireland at the moment. We've had a few visitors, which has been fantastic, and we're you're sharing your learnings and you're having the community of practice of how you go about your business and what the success look like and how we can learn off each other. So the opportunity came between contacts between Syracuse and Leinster of socialising the idea of, well, could we come out to Syracuse and showcase what we do within the university and help the rugby program, but also look to see if we can help the locality in developing rugby within the schools, our coaching clinics with our coach education, looking to spread that throughout the States, and then our School of Excellence camps, which we've ran very successfully over the last 3 years. We've got a full residential camp here at Syracuse in the summer, from kids to 12 to 18, where they basically live, sleep, and breathe being a professional rugby player. Where we've got some sports education and sports management modules as well. That's combined within the program, but it's very much the same as our program back home. It's an identical copy. So our camps back home are massive. They're sold out within days when they go out, and we've over 1,400 kids which is fantastic, in Dublin this summer. And we're booked out. So again, we're looking to spread, and spread the word and show what we do and to encompass all the values of rugby in terms of that integrity and teamwork and friends for life, which is a great rugby trait. So yeah, getting back to the rugby program, as you said, we're in the NCR Liberty Conference Division One. It's been a fantastic journey thus far. We're very conscious that we want to grow the American game with the American player and the American coach as well. So our model is very much 95% the American player and then 5% international players, 5-10% of international players. And that'll vary. It's varied in the past, it'll vary in the future. But the whole idea is to encompass what that ground up model will look like and how we can spread our tentacles across the states and to help support kids from elementary to middle school to high school to university. And then the most important thing, what they do after university, that they stay in the game, and that they play at the level that they feel that they're up to doing. The last thing you want is kids falling off the face of the earth and not getting involved. So you want them recycling into the rugby ecosystem, especially with the World Cup happening in Melanie now in 2031 and 2033. I think I've got a good
I
spiel.
think
So
we've taken a world tour of
yeah,
your history and Leinster's history.
yeah,
With the program at Syracuse, you said that the weighting is to the 95% domestic, 5% international, with some variation there. Um, Obviously, you can't do this alone, so there must be additional coaching staff, support staff, physios, and facilities. One of the challenges that you face in upstate New York is that you have a very snowy winter. So can you talk about the facilities and also how you navigate some of those challenges and
yeah.
your coaching team?
So sometimes when you're in a sort of rugby bubble, or you're in an environment for a long time, you forget what's outside of it. So I arrived at Syracuse University in July 2023, not knowing what to expect, assuming that there's no such thing as rugby, or it's very much, a sport that not many people know about. So I get to meet the people and the staff in the university. So along comes Bob Wilson and David De Silvia, and I get talking to them. And before I know it, I realize that these guys have been coaching in the university for the last 40 and 20 years, respectively. And I'm flabbergasted by this. And I'm saying to myself, wow, 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 isn't rugby the most fairest sport in the world? That it doesn't discriminate against who you are, where you're from, that the game is better than anybody, no matter if you're a professional player, World Cup winner, or a parent who just comes to watch your kid play. And then I'm listening about the history, and there's a rugby program here in Syracuse for the last 50 years. There's a Northeast League. Wow, there's more rugby down in the West as well. There's rugby here, there, and everywhere. And I'm saying, well, this is incredible. And then I find out about the Olympics. The first Olympics, I believe, America had won the silver medal, which was the gold medal back then. And then I'm just immersed in the history, and I'm flabbergasted, and I'm saying, wow. And then you're looking at the time and the effort that Bob and Dago have given up, and then you're looking at the women's coaches as well, and you're saying to yourself, this is crazy, like this is brilliant, and this is what rugby is in its purest form. So, yeah, so meeting the guys was brilliant, and we examined and we looked at the program, we audited it, and we said, well, how are we going to judge and measure where the program is at? Because as you know, most rugby programs are club sports, and then you say to yourself, well, there's more kids probably playing club sports than they are varsity sports. And then you're saying, well, hold on, rugby's a game for all shapes and sizes. Well, hold on, there's a serious opportunity in any university, but especially obviously Syracuse with the football program and the basketball program. And then you look at the history of the connections with the high schools and the type of person or athlete that comes to Syracuse in club sport. And then you say, there's a bit of a rugby here. So anyway, that was my sort of thinking out loud at the time. So then we said, right, how are we going to assess? How are we going to make this rugby program better? So we need to look at facilities, like you said. We said, right, what facilities do we need to make a good rugby program? So obviously we need space. We need ample room to be able to conduct sessions, to be able to field more teams. So we used to practice on a nice field, but had no floodlights, and we shared it with baseball and ultimate frisbee, which was fine, but it could become a bit congested. Um, and we'd run 5 practices a week, and then your game on a Saturday. And as you know, in the fall, it's very condensed in terms of your season. There's a lot of moving parts. So we said, right, well, where would we grade that field and in terms of facilities, in terms of owning the field or having time on the field. So to cut the long story short, since then we've had a new field got for us through club sports, through the donation of the Ballantines, which is fantastic. So we have a new rugby field up in Skytop. And that came from that assessing, well, where would we say we were at? Well, we don't really feel we own or we have our own facility, but now we have with floodlights, which is fantastic. So we assessed other areas. I'm just giving you an example of the field and the facility itself being an example of looking at how you can progress from where you're at to what looks good, from participation to performing to high performing environments. So we looked at obviously our technical and tactical program and what we delivered during the week and said, right, well, it just can't be all drills. Drills are important, but we need to have a game-based approach as well for the player to understand the different elements of the game and chaos and what you need to do when and play through what you see in the moment, making tactical decisions, but also knowing that you have the technical capacity to do that. So you could have very, very good technical skills with no tactical nous, or you could be the opposite. You could have very good tactical nous with no technical skills or good technical skills. So you marry them both and you work with them, and it's you taking them and the players on the journey and making sure they're refined in both. So that's a technical and tactical side of the capacity of the players. So we started moving out and going more game based than the technical side, knowing that the technical side is very important as well. On the physical side, we have an S&C coach. We didn't have at the time, but we now have an S&C coach who looks after women and men's in a cage in indoor facility with turf at Manly Fieldhouse. So we use that during the season in the nights that we're not on the field, on the new field, which is massive. So we have that where before we just asked that we just give them gym programs before that and they just go and do their own gym work, not supervised. But now they are supervised and they get that one-to-one attention in terms of technique and that they're lifting properly and that they're rehabbing properly if they're injured and they're prehabbing to prevent injury. Then from the nutritional, the lifestyle side of things and the mental side of things, which is fantastic, we've got 2 great support leaders with Deirdre Howard-Brown and Mitch Saturn in the Barron Centre. And they are there 24/7 to work individually with our players and individual support and nutrition and the mental side, not only for rugby but off pitch as well. So they would deliver a couple of workshops during the season in terms of being rugby specific, and then they're there as a resource and a one-to-one for the rest of the year, which is absolutely fantastic. That's been massive for us. So yeah, we have both outdoor and indoor facilities at the moment. Just before we start the conversation, the last 6 weeks we've been indoor, and we've been moving around in the turf and in gyms and working again on our core 4 skills, our positional, in terms of backline attack, defence, lineouts, scrum work, and then developing our game and having a social rugby program on a Saturday morning. So we're looking to recruit within the university as well as outside. We've also done some outreach to CNY Adaptive Sport, where we had last season, we had a wheelchair rugby night, which is fantastic. You should give it a go. Anyone that's listening, it's brilliant. And again, it's all about all types of rugby. It's about growing the game. It's about getting the name of rugby out there, making sense of it, judging and measuring where it's at, and always looking to move forward. So the university have been terrific in the support on how we've grown. Everything since we started the partnership.
It sounds like there has been quite an evolution since the partnership began from kind
Yes,
of a very clubby club to more of an elevated status
yes,
where with a lot more support built around it. Now, you play 15s in the fall semester and
yeah.
sevens in the spring. So right now we're in between and you're getting ready for that spring run. Could you tell me a little bit about what that looks like? And in addition to what your sevens players are up to, what the non-seven players get up to during the spring semester.
Yeah, so we've got sevens tournaments up and coming, and we sort of put a policy in place with the graduates and seniors. It's been their last hooray that we're going to give them the berth of the sevens. So we're working away in the sevens with them, and in the meantime, we're working on the rest of the players in terms of developing them for 15s. And that takes place at the same time in terms of how we manage the split with our coaches. And that's important because we will have a few 15s scrimmages as well before the end of the season. And we're looking at them for next year already. And then we're looking then for recruits in terms of the freshmen coming in. So you're always having one eye in the now and one eye in the future. I'm sure everyone will be familiar with that. And we're trying to make sense of what it is and what that feels like for Syracuse. And again, we've full access to facilities. And again, it's just developing the player. It's looking at their individual capacities. Some need a wee bit more strength work. Some need to go and talk to nutritionists a lot more in terms of some guys can at times burn the candle at two ends. So they maybe need to eat more or train less. Others might need some positional work, individual work. For example, some of the forwards need to work on their jump technique in the line out or lifting. So we're very much attuned to what that is and what it looks like and how we pinpoint and how we hit that element through this phase. It's very much a development phase, which is a great opportunity to get things right for the fall.
Super. And with a regular week, what does your training look like? When do you train? When do you lift? How far do you travel?
Yeah, so we lift at the moment. We lift on Tuesdays and Thursdays. On Wednesdays we do positional work. We do on field in between. So we've got the girls in the gym first. Sorry, in the weight cage, the lifting weights, and we've got the lads in the field, and then we switch. We do two 45-minute sessions on the Tuesday and the Thursday. On the Wednesday, we hone in the positional work, and then we do the social rugby on the Saturday morning. Thursday as well, content would be more core four, working on our skills and making sure our accuracy is right and our understanding of the game is better.
With this social rugby on a Saturday morning, is that within Syracuse, within the university, and it's kind of like pickup
Yes,
games?
exactly. It's
Okay.
we get them. We bring them into a gym called Flanagan Gym. So it's basically three basketball courts joined together, and we say, right, let's play. So we want the players to go and grab a friend or anyone that's half interested or heard about the game, and we just throw them in and we just play some games, and then we might stop it and we might condition the game and say, right, maybe do a bit of overload attack against defense. We might just stop and do a few exercise, a few technique drills, a few catch pass activities, or maybe tackle tech, so a bit of fun. But we want to recruit within as well. That's important because there are a lot of kids going around that maybe have got disillusioned with other sports for whatever reason, and it's just if they taste rugby, they'll know how good it is. And we've seen that. I mean, we've had graduates thus far that are gone that are very much focused on working with the alumni and saying, right, we know this is a great product. Rugby is a great sport. There's a lot of great people in the States who are, who are rugby, who've got a taste of rugby. How can we continue to make this better? How can we grow it? How can we use that as a means of building friendships and so on?
I think it's a really powerful way to do outreach. I read a statistic the other day that 93 to 94% of high school athletes don't play any sport when they leave high school.
Mm.
And with rugby not being as commonly available in high school, what a super opportunity to be a crossover athlete and try something new and get involved in sport again. And maybe, maybe your football chapter has closed, but your rugby chapter might just be beginning.
Yeah, I mean, the athletes in Syracuse, not only in Syracuse, but all the universities, the athletes are phenomenal. And, it pains me to see some of them walking around the university, or even when you travel around the States and you meet people and you just see these guys in great shape and ladies in great shape. And you say to them, do you play rugby? And they go, what? I said, would you play rugby? What is it? And then you explain it to them, and you're saying, if you just had them when they were 10 years of age, or 15 years of age, and you just got a hold of them. But yeah, I mean the female and male athlete is phenomenal here in America at the moment. It's how you keep promoting and socializing the game, getting the ball in a kid's hand in elementary school, and developing pathways and letting the parents, getting the parents included, which is massive, and showing them there's a way for your kid to be able to go from a 5-year old to university.
Absolutely. So, talking about going to university, one of the things that has to happen when one goes to university is it has to get paid for. And so, can you talk a little bit about financial aid or scholarships or merit scholarships, whatever is available for both domestic and international players looking to go to Syracuse?
Yeah, so we're making sense of that at the moment, and we have been in this, it's been renewing. So we do offer academic merit um, awards and programs, and we do a lot of one-to-one chats with the players and the family to explain the ins and outs, and for us to get an understanding where they're at. Um, and it's very much academia first, and to see that they're the right fit educationally first, because that's number one. The fact that they play rugby as well, which is great, but it's important that they get a full rounded and understanding educationally, as you say, and what's out there, and then obviously then what the rugby experience would look like.
Great. And so there are merit scholarships. You're figuring out if there are going, is there, if there's any scope for rugby, I guess, a layer of rugby on top in the future.
Yeah,
And for the domestics, obviously there would be potentially need-based financial aid once you've
yeah,
completed your FAFSA and followed that
exactly.
path.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great. You've mentioned a couple of times women's rugby at Syracuse. Could you tell us a little bit about that program? Just paint a little picture of what women's rugby looks like at
Yeah,
Syracuse.
so we're very much aligned, women's and men's. We're one entity, and we've come under the one umbrella, but we're still separate and autonomous, which is very important. So it's the same offerings for the women and the men in terms of nutrition, like I mentioned, mental skills, in the cage as well, lifting weights, and tactical and technical training, and practice and use of field. So we're very much the same, but we still want to keep that autonomy in terms of how we go about our business, and then understanding of what type of player we have and what type of player we want to develop, and then what our coaching now looks like. So that's important, that you know who you're coaching, what to coach, and how you're coaching. So they're very, very much aligned, and I mean we do a lot of philanthropy things as well together and outreach, and we're actually doing a local outreach this evening in a local church, just feeding the parish and helping out. So we do a lot of that work, which is massively important, and it instills the values of the game. And the women are brilliant at that as well. They're going into sevens competitions also in the next month to 6 weeks, and they've done very well at recruiting within the university also, which has been fantastic. A lot of, and that's where you see those sort of rough diamonds, and you can actually see, and I've noticed a better transition from a non-female rugby player to playing rugby compared to the men, and how quickly they adapt, and bump. I mean, they hit the ground running. It's amazing.
With the women, are they also Division One in NCR, or do they play in a
Division
different
two.
Division Two? Great.
Yeah.
Okay. When you talk to recruits, every coach is different in what they are looking for in a recruit, in a good recruit, and also what flags up as a warning sign. What is a positive for you, and what makes you concerned?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I would have thought about that before I came to university. And then I realized when I got here, there was three different types of players, or three different types of persons or people. There's the player that just wants to play for the fun. There's a player who's never played before and comes off the campus and in like that, and they want to give it a go. And then you've got that player that's come from a high school program, or maybe that's was on the USA pathway, player pathway, and takes it real serious. So at the moment we've got 80 male and 40 female players on our books. So we've looked to field three sides in the men's and two sides in the women, based on understanding what their needs are. Because rugby, like I mean, for me, we talk about rugby being a game for all. We need to be able to make sure we can provide that environment for those type of people, and there is those type of people in the game at the moment. So I wouldn't. What I would say is that the challenge is to make sure that we're actually meeting the capacity and the understanding of the individual player, and being able to keep them in a collective environment where they're developing and they're having fun, they're enjoying it. So that's that three, if that makes sense, that three different type of players we have. So we're in needs all. We want to meet everybody's needs. We want everybody to be involved. Um, and we want to just keep pushing what we're doing in terms of going from that participation to a performing environment. Um, and in terms of the people that come, great. We want to make sure that they hit the ground running and they have that opportunity.
Now, it wasn't that long ago that you moved to the US for this role with Syracuse. What do you think is the biggest challenge that international students need to be prepared for when they are at Syracuse or at any university in the US?
Yeah, great question. The first thing is, I would say that there's no harm coming on a visit beforehand because it's a bit of a culture shock in terms of how things are done in America. No different than going from America to Ireland to study or England to Spain. Like culture, how things are done around here, it differs from even within the states, even within different countries and different parts of the countries. So I would say, look, if you're really serious about coming to USA to study and to play rugby, make sure you have a good understanding, a good grounding of where you're going. Understanding that number one, your academics, again, that you are very clear on what you want to do, what it looks like for you, uh, projecting yourself in terms of balancing your academia with your rugby. And we actually practice at night from 7 to 9 every night to make sure that everyone can get their bits and bobs done before they come to rugby. That's important. And then I would say as well that on the transition that they immerse themselves within the rugby community or rugby fraternity within the university quickly. And again, that they just not be afraid to express themselves and settle in, because one of the things that I find about being here in America, the people are fantastic, very, very much open arms and how you doing and how you keeping and there's something we can do for you, and very, very helpful. Um, and that's important, not to be shy and to open up early and get over and get immersed quickly. And you won't regret it.
You used the word fraternity, and when my son was getting ready to go to the US, a lot of people would ask us, "Oh, is he going to join a fraternity?" Because that's what people see in movies, meaning the social system within the Greek network. And I thought about it, and it was a pretty quick answer because he had already joined his fraternity. His fraternity was his rugby team. He just
Mm,
hadn't met them yet.
yeah,
And that's your social group, and it is such a game changer when you are going into that new environment because you already have your people, you found your tribe, you don't know that they're your best friends yet, but they are. And
yeah,
they're the ones who'll have your back, and it makes such a difference. So absolutely getting stuck in and opening yourself up to that is so important. So thank you for bringing that up.
yeah. I've seen kids, Melanie. It's funny. I've seen kids who never played sport in their life, who came to our program, come to our program, who have got addicted, and just love it, just love those values and feeling part of something. I never played any sport, and they feel as much and as important or a part of the gang as someone that's been playing rugby all their life. So that's my point about rugby. It's the most fairest game that you'll ever come across.
Yeah, absolutely. They call football, meaning soccer, the beautiful sport. I think rugby's right up there.
Yeah.
One last question for you, and it's kind of a big all-rounder. What do you think are the best things about Syracuse University? And also, can you tell us a little bit about the surrounding community and your proximity to major cities? So beyond the university, as well as culturally, what should someone know if they don't know anything about Syracuse?
Yeah, so it's located upstate New York, as you mentioned. Geographically, for you're talking halfway between New York City to Niagara Falls. Um, it's surrounded by other cities like Rochester, Buffalo, Albany. Um, Very much a well-established city with magnificent uh, not only facility, but I mean areas like the nature is beautiful. If you're into nature and you're into outdoor living, it's massive. It's fantastic. Um, it's a very hard-working city. Very good, decent people. Who are very much willing to help you and meet you and put you in a good position to be the best you can be to help with that. There's a lot of interest from the people in the city about the university, no matter what you do, no matter what you're involved in. Um, so yeah, from a tourist point of view as well, if you come over, if you want to have a look at Syracuse, I'd recommend you to come, have a look at the campus, have a feel for the area. If nothing else, you'll have a great sort of time away in terms of relaxation. Um, and then obviously you've got New York City. The traveling's not too far. It's about 5 hours on a train and about 4 hours in a car. It's easy accessible. It actually sits, right centrally. It's like the hub of the spokes of the wheel of the bicycle. You've got Chicago, Washington, New York City, um, Toronto as well, in Canada as well. So it's very close in proximity and easy to get there.
So when you fly in, do you fly into New York City and then connect to a regional airport?
Yeah, I've flown into more cities now since I've been over and back. Um, I've been in New York, New York City, Philadelphia, um, Atlanta, Boston, Chicago.
So
Yeah,
just about anywhere.
anywhere, yeah, around that hub. Because you're talking about maybe anything between 45 minutes to 90 minutes of a trek from any major city to Syracuse. So
Okay,
it's very accessible.
great. And then finally, culturally, Syracuse has 23,000 students. It's not a small school by any stretch of the imagination. How would you describe the culture of the university?
Yeah, very ambitious, very much hardworking in terms of the offerings with the Whitman School, the School of Foch, the sport management course has really pushed on in the last couple of years. It's really very ambitious in what it wants to do and outreach to all sports within the states. Interesting projects happening at the moment there. And then obviously Newhouse being with, from what I gather, there's a lot of commentators in sport nationally that have come from Syracuse. Um, and they pride themselves a lot on on that, the ability to be able to push on and network with the alumni, and continue to be the force that they are. Very much can do spirit, and very collaborative as well with communities as well. There's a Lemoyne College is not too far from Syracuse University as well. There's great collaboration across in terms of working together in sports. So, and then the outreach to the community as well, very much humbling. I'm very conscious of philanthropy as well, which is massive. But yeah, and obviously the veteran center as well, in terms of running programs there is second to none. So there's a lot happening. There's a lot of activity, but it's a great feel good, can do, industrious culture, and also a bit of fun as well. You can't forget the fun, um, which is important. It's a close knit community, which is great as well. Very much, obviously, a lot of hospitals here as well. Um, but yeah, it's a I've had nothing but a fantastic experience, and the people here have been brilliant to me.
That's great. Last question. In athletics, Syracuse is known as the Orangemen. Who are the Orangemen?
Yeah, good question. I tried to find out about that, Melanie. I think it goes back to a Dutch descendancy, and I think maybe a South African Dutch descendancy. I'm not 100% sure. But I love the color orange.
Well, that's
everywhere.
good.
Yeah, everywhere you go, you see the orange, and the lacrosse side of things is very interesting. It being from the area, the history in that as well with the Onondaga Nation as well is fascinating. But yeah, I think that's the descendants or where it came from.
Okay.
Don't
So
don't quote me on that. You need to
so
do a
we
bit.
think that Otto the Orange might be of Dutch South African
I
lineage.
think so. Yeah,
Okay.
I
If
think we
not,
can.
we'll just run with that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Well, Colin, thank you so much for your time today. And I really hope you guys have a great run this spring in the sevens. And I'd like to keep in touch and do an update in the autumn and see how you get on then as well.
Great, and thanks very much for your time and keep up the great work.
Thank you so much.